Hey guys, this is Miss Arlequin, and in this video I am going to give a little extra support and modeling for brainstorming ideas for our Unit 2 essays. So the first thing I want to do is I just want to review the task with you. For this performance-based task, we are writing an essay where we have to explain the strategies these writers use to convey their experiences, challenges, and goals. So the first thing I just want to go over is that when we see the words "these writers," we need to make sure we know which writers specifically the task is talking about. And so since this is our end of the unit task, the writers are the writers that we have been studying in Unit 2. And so we are talking about Derek Jeter and Barack Obama. And so really what this essay is asking us to do is to focus on Jeter and Obama and talk about the writing strategies that they use in their text, specifically how they use those strategies to tell us about their experience, their challenges, and the goals that they had. Now there are two groups for this task. There's a Group A and a Group B. If you are in Group A, you are writing about both authors. If you are in Group B, you are writing about one author, and so you need to choose either Derek Jeter or Barack Obama. Now, regardless of which author you're writing about, the one thing that everybody's essay has in common is that you have to choose two strategies that that author uses. And again, it's strategies that the author uses to develop their experiences, their challenges, and their goals. So I'm going to focus just on one author. I'm going to focus on Langston Hughes, and I'm going to use the poem Harlem, which we read during our Socratic seminar for The Life You Imagine. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create my circle map, and I'm going to title it. And so this is a circle map where I am brainstorming my strategies and the text evidence. So I'm going to call it Author Strategies in Harlem. In the center circle, I'm going to put the title. And then I'm going to write down the author as well, because that is something that is important. I have to make sure I mention it in my essay. An essay about a text where you don't mention the author is not a very effective essay. Okay, so I know the author, I know Harlem. I know that I have to discuss the author's experiences, challenges, and goals. And so what was the experience of the speaker in this poem? And what strategies did this author use? So this is the point where I'm going to go back into my text and I'm going to see if I can answer that question. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? All right, so what were the author's experiences in this poem? What this is really asking me to do is to think about the central idea. What is this poem mostly about? I know that it's about dreams. What is this author saying about dreams? He says, does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Dreams deferred. When I review the vocabulary, a dream deferred is a dream that was set aside. So he's talking about when you put your dreams aside, what happens to it? He's saying it might dry up, it might fester, which means it might become infected. These are all very negative images. It might stink like rotten meat. It might crust and sugar over. Again, that's not something that I want to eat, something that has crust over it. Maybe it just sags like a heavy load. Again, that's negative. Or does it explode? So all of these images are negative things that could happen when you give up your dreams. So I think that's the central idea. I'm going to write that on my circle map. Giving up your dream is a bad idea. All right, so I know what the author's experience is. Now I need to focus on the strategies. So what strategy do I see this author using? Well, the thing that stands out to me immediately is the use of figurative language. Dry up like a raisin in the sun, fester like a sore, stink like rotten meat. So that's going to be the first strategy that I put in my circle map, and it's going to be the first strategy that I write about in my essay. The author uses figurative language. Now, in my frame of reference, which is outside of my circle, I need to put my text evidence. Well, I've already found my text evidence because when I went back into the text to actually find the strategy, I started to highlight the examples of figurative language. So now all I need to do is just quote the figurative language in my frame of reference. Dry up like a raisin in the sun. And I only need 2 pieces of text evidence, so I'll use stink like rotten meat because that's a pretty easy simile to explain. Now the only thing I'm missing is I didn't cite my evidence. So since this is a poem, instead of writing the page number, I'm going to write the line number. So I just have to figure out what lines this is. This one is 2 and 3. 2, 3, 4. This is 5. And this is 6. So lines 2 to 3 and line 6. So I'm just going to add that here. Okay, so that's my first strategy. But remember, I need to talk about strategies. And Miss Arlequin explained in class that I need 2. So I need a second strategy. So I've used figurative language. Well, let me look. We spent a lot of time talking about diction in class, about colloquial language and formal language. So do I see this author using a certain type of language? Is there colloquial language? Does this seem like easygoing, kind of everyday talk? No, I don't really talk like this. In fact, just the use of the vocabulary alone, the use of the word deferred, tells me that this is formal language. And so that's going to be the second strategy that I put in my circle map. And then my text evidence is going to be the example of the author using formal language. I found it when I highlighted deferred, and that is the first line. So I'm going to make sure that I cite it. All right. So now my planning is done. I know exactly what I'm going to be writing in my essay. I'm going to be writing about the poem Harlem. I'm going to talk about how Harlem was about giving up your dream and how that's a bad idea. And I'm going to talk about how the author develops that idea through the use of figurative language and the use of formal language. When I write my essay, I'm going to use the central idea and the 2 strategies to help me write my thesis. And then when I write my body paragraphs, I'm going to use the strategy and the text evidence as one of my body paragraphs, and then this one will be my second body paragraph. So keep in mind that as you're working on your thinking map, whether it's a circle map or a double bubble map, you need to go back into the text. You need to use your evidence charts. You need to make sure that you are deciding on 2 strategies. If you're writing about only one author, you need that one author's 2 strategies. If you are in group A and you are writing about both Derek Jeter and Barack Obama, you need to find 2 strategies for both of those authors. And it might be the same strategy. If Derek Jeter and Barack Obama both use figurative language, then that is strategy 1 for both authors. And if there's a second strategy that they have in common, then you can make that same strategy the second strategy for both authors. And make sure that your frame of reference has your text evidence. Everything you put onto this thinking map is going to help you write the actual draft of your essay.